How long do you have to train to get good at fighting? Or how long do you have to train to get good at martial arts? Well, it's going to kind of vary from person to person, but it's going to take exactly 6 months, no matter what. 6 months. If you made it past the intro, you know there's probably a lot more to it than just 6 months. Roughly overview, if you're only training 2 times per week versus somebody who's training 4 times per week, the 4 times per week is probably going to get better a lot faster. That being said, today I'm going to go through another one of my bag rants, and we're going to talk about what constitutes being good at martial arts, and when you know you're good at fighting. So, make sure you're subscribed and you have notifications turned on, and let's get started. I'm going to tell you guys something groundbreaking. People do things because they want to get good at them. People pick up something like martial arts with the expectation that, given a certain amount of time, they will become competent at that martial art, which I know is shocking. And I don't think it's unfair to ask your instructor or your favorite YouTuber how long roughly that should take you. And yes, ultimately, every single martial art is about getting good at fighting. Even Aikido, which literally translates to the way of not knowing how to fight at all, ultimately aims to create the martial artist who knows how to control another human being. If your only goal is to be better than another human being in some kind of competition or the arena of life, then that's all you have to judge yourself by. And pulling on that thread, let's say you've been training in judo and you decide to take a judo match after 8 months of training. You've been training diligently and you decide it's time to take a match and test yourself. Fine. You get paired up with someone who's been doing it roughly as long as you have, and you beat them. Does that mean you're good at judo? Maybe. It means you're at least better than they are at that day, that exact moment in time. But you also have a second match coming up that day with someone who's been doing it slightly less than you have, but is more genetically gifted and athletic than you are. And you lose that match quickly. Are you now bad at judo because you lost that match? I don't think so. Because judging yourself based on the performance of someone else is going to change from day to day and from room to room. If you're judging your skill based on how you perform against people of equal, lesser, or greater value than you, and value I mean as fighters, then it's going to change all the time. And ultimately what I'm saying is don't judge yourself based on that. Because that's a real good way to feel shitty about yourself all the time. But Rob, I hear you say, I'm not being quite that dramatic. I don't really want to take a fight. I just want to stop getting abused in sparring. How long does it take for that to stop? This is one of those instances where I think 6 months to a year is probably about how long it'll take most people. Because what's happening in your first year of training, if you've never done anything physical before, is that you're teaching people to respect your movement. You don't know how to move your body in the beginning, so advanced students don't respect you, and they can do pretty much whatever dumb shit they want. Sparring with beginners, excluding the beginners who spaz out and swing for the fences right away, and even then, you can still often get away with doing dumb shit. You get to try some of the more creative tactics you have in your arsenal because they don't know what to do. Because martial arts and fighting, it's a language. And when you first walk in, you don't speak that language yet. So all that to say, after you've been practicing for a while, 6 months to a year, you'll probably learn how to speak that language a little better. You're forming sentences. You're learning how to create an argument. Don't get frustrated in the beginning when you can't do anything. It's all what we all had to go through. It's normal. And, tell you the truth, getting frustrated with that process is also normal. Being able to beat that frustration and not let it stop you from training is where the ticket is. That's where real success is. Being able to shut off your frustration and not feel like a failure. That's how you know you're actually good at martial arts. Being able to endure and keep coming back day after day, and suddenly, without noticing, getting better at your training. An important thing to remember is that sometimes you're the hammer and sometimes you're the nail. Sometimes you're gonna walk in and have had a great day, a great night's sleep, a good meal, and you're gonna make everyone around you feel like a complete beginner. Doesn't matter what their experience level is. Sometimes you're just on, you're in sync with the universe or whatever, and you're having a great day in sparring. And that's awesome. You should relish those days. But sometimes you're gonna be the nail. Sometimes you're gonna walk in and someone else is gonna piece you up and you're gonna feel like the complete beginner. Maybe they're having a great day, maybe you're having a bad day. Doesn't matter, it happens. And in that instance, you should also relish that information. Like I said, martial arts is about coming back and fighting through the adversity. Not fighting the opponent in front of you, fighting the one behind you, fighting the one inside you, fighting the you that didn't want to be here and didn't want to eat the lessons of humility that were being taught every single day. And you want those lessons because learning to enjoy that struggle, to keep fighting, even when it's all uphill, that's what separates a great fighter from a bad fighter. That's what separates a martial artist from someone who just puts on the gloves or puts on the belt, does their 1 hour workout and goes home. There's nothing wrong with being a hobbyist. There's nothing wrong with having something to do after work on a Tuesday, Thursday. But I suspect if you're watching this channel, if you're subscribed and dropping comments like you should, you're probably not a martial hobbyist. This is not just something you do to fill up the day. This is a passion for you. So remember, sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail. But what about if that's not why you're training? What if you're training for self-defense? What if you only want to feel safe walking down the street and not worry about someone jumping out of the shadows to attack you or your family? How long does that take? Well, what I'm about to say will piss off a lot of people, but honestly, if you're just looking for the confidence to defend yourself from that person jumping out of the shadows, you can learn that in a day, 3 days, maybe a week, because the word that I used there was confidence. What you need is confidence. What you need is posture. You don't need to be particularly adept at violence to prevent violence from happening to you. Guys like Tony Blauer have a drill where they have the participant assume the role not of the person being attacked, but as the person who wants to attack them. You look at who is paying attention, who has their eyes glued to their phone or is looking down or refuses to take up space in the room. That's the person that's gonna get attacked. Because people that want to hurt you or control you or take something from you aren't looking to have a fight with you. If you put up any amount of resistance in a real tangible way, most of the time, barring the inclusion of firearms or other weapons or groups, you'll be okay. There's a lot more soft skills than just punching really good for self-defense. So if that's your goal, if that's your only goal, then you can get good at that in maybe a week, tops. Granted, just because you learned it once doesn't mean you know it forever. So if you take, let's say, a 2-week spear seminar, which I feel like is a very long time for that seminar, but for this example, you take a 2-week spear seminar. You should probably take it again a couple years later or the next year, whenever you can. You need to refresh that knowledge. Or just enroll in an actual martial arts class that really talks about the truth of self-defense. Here's the thing though. Let's say you're training for self-defense, or even you're training to get good at fighting, and you've hit your 3-week efficiency for self-defense and your 1-year efficiency for fighting skill. Why do you keep coming back? Because now you want to train for the sake of training. Now you want to train to be good at martial arts. And now you're a lifer. Because it doesn't matter how good you are at hurting another human being, there will always be another one who's better at hurting you every single day. And you're not worried about getting in a self-defense situation because, well, you've learned to avoid those altogether, and they're very few and far between. So that can't be your only motivator, right? But you know what? You really want to get good at snapping out those roundhouse kicks, or you really want to throw arm bars like the best of them. And that's something that's timeless. I can't put a timeline on that. There's always more of the mountain to climb. There's always more stuff to learn. Right now, I have zero interest in Kali. I don't care about fighting with a stick or a knife. It's just not where my head's at. It's not where my interest is. Right now, I'm focusing on combat sports, particularly Muay Thai. But who's to say in a couple years I don't want to do Kali? Who's to say I don't pick up a stick again and find the passion again? And then I'll focus on that. And then a few years after that, who knows? Judo, Sambo, Capoeira. That's what makes martial arts an art. It's not the forms, it's not the techniques, it's not the funny looking outfits that we all wear. It's the fact that there is no perfection. There's no way to be the expert God hand all the time at everything. So, how long does it take you to get good at martial arts? It's a lifetime. You're never gonna be perfect at it. And you should never be at a point where you feel content with your knowledge. There's more to learn. But you'll definitely be better over time than when you started. And you'll always be better than if you hadn't started at all. Ultimately, I feel like asking how long until I get good at martial arts or how long until I get good at fighting is kind of irrelevant, because as long as you're training diligently in a quality program, the success is going to come without you noticing it. And one day, you're just going to be good at fighting. Again, as long as you're in a quality martial arts program. But if you want to have some kind of metric, hopefully this video shed some light on you, and hopefully you had fun with what I was doing. If that's the case, please make sure to subscribe, tap the notification bell, like, share, and leave a comment. That's the best way to help me grow the channel. And if you want to show support to the channel, head on over to combatsd.square.site and pick up a t-shirt, crop top, coffee mug, tote bag, or anything else we have on the site. This has been Rob in Combat Self-Defense. I want to thank you guys for all the hard work. Thank you for the hard work yet to be done, and I'll see you next time.